that attitude also, goes far away.
So when you say high regard, you mean people hold that person in respect, or they want to be like that person?
No, the people have that much of interest to know that's what kind of person is that, and as to how that he has got the money.
Yeah.
Even if a person has ill-got money, that's people are used to respect him, to have a regard. That also has helped to increase this kind of corruptions in the country.
So where do you, I mean, this is a question that keeps cropping up, where do you break this cycle? At home, at school, university, organizations, a combination of all the above? Where?
No, the corruption, of course, in any country, if there is any, that if any country has proved that they have stopped or minimized the corruption, all those countries that they have started from the top. If you take for an example the Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, Malaysia, Mahathir Mohamad, or even the Japan, the Hong Kong, they were not much concerned about the people that who are getting $200 to $500 small things. Not that they are not concerned, but they didn't want to give the priority to that one. This is in our country that if a police constable or somebody has taken 200 or 500, so we report it as a very serious matter. And when it reports that in millions and billions, the people take very lightly. Even, for example, that I have cited some instances in my co-op report where billions of rupees have been gone from the public funds by way of corruption.
And these individuals are still in public life?
Very much, and mostly get their promotions. They are elevated to the very high pedestals.
I wonder, Mr. Vijay, I mean, whether it's more tragic to having exposed them that they continue in public life. I mean, isn't it farcical?
No, in our society, getting involved in corruption is not really treated as a real crime.
Yeah,
but the person who expose it, who disclose it is
so
found finally as the most biggest culprit in the country, and losing everything.
That's ironical. I mean, in terms of though the manner in which many people feel that this can be addressed, they suggest that the implementation of laws already there as one way forward. Do you agree with that opinion?
Not really. That's in that also that there are two sides. One thing that we'll have to consider that up to a certain extent that government also, any government, continuously they also couldn't control number of things due to war and everything was, that's the putting on account of the war. And the government, any government also had to give the priority to resolve that issue.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I am not, of course, not that much pessimistic, I am rather optimistic. I think now this high time now, the war is over. Now we'll have to think about the development of the country. If you, after finishing the war also, if you don't develop the country, and also if you don't gain the minds of the minority people, again that's we will go back to the square one. So without getting trapped into that, I think this is the best time for everybody to think forward.
Speaking about war and just looking back reflectively, you had linked in public comments that you had made corruption to terrorism. And you had made a very clear link. Now, is that something that you still hold? You feel that if corruption is allowed to continue, that there might be more systemic violence in the future?
That is, you are referring to the war?
Yes.
No, that's, of course, we will have to continue simultaneously. One thing is that you will have to see that this kind of issues will not arise in future. Secondly, if you have to have a stable government, stable nation, then there has to be some economic growth, and if the system is replete with corruption, then you cannot expect any development in the society. Therefore, I think it has to be balanced.
And what laws are in place that can ensure this post-war? Because one of the great concerns and enduring concerns is that any government, not just this government, in charge of a portfolio for development is going to invariably siphon most of it, if not a large chunk of it, to private coffers. What is there in place now, given the foreign direct investment that is in the offing, given the loans that might be in the offing, given the diasporic investment into Sri Lanka that might be in the offing? There's going to be a huge inflow of money for development, and it seems to me to be the case that if you don't have enabling legislation to hold this money accountable, then we're going to have sorry to contradict you, but we might have more corruption than we have had than in the past.
No, that we have already really demonstrated that the making of laws have not helped us to reduce corruption. The laws are there in the book.
But they're not there.
We have enough laws.
Yeah.
Only thing is the implementation.
Yeah.
The most important thing is not the making of the law, the implementation of the law. And therefore that unless that we establish that ours is a society which is the less corruption, we can't say that 100% free of corruption. Less corruption, that you will not be able to get the people to invest in this country, not outsiders, even insiders.
But I doubt that. I doubt that, Mr. Rajapaksha. You think that the concerns about corruption are really going to stifle investment in this country? What gives you hope? What gives you reason to believe that that is the case?
No, the thing is the main reason is as to why the people are discouraged to make investment is that there are a lot of corruptions taking place. Even if you have to get some, like maybe to get a license, maybe to get some permit, for everything that's the people ask bribes, and that is why people are discouraged, not only outsiders, even our local people. The second thing is that you will have to prove that ours is a country which maintains the law and order. Now when it appears in the papers, some foreigners or the tourists have been victimized, or that they have been killed, sometimes they have been raped, sometimes that they have been looted. With that kind of incidents, the people will be reluctant even to come as tourists.
You have referred to the rule of law and maintaining that. You would not be a stranger to the public opinion that in their perception, the police in this country are the most corrupt of any public institution. This has again repeatedly been brought out in a number of surveys over the past 10 years. Now, if that is the case, where does public confidence in stemming corruption, in addressing corruption, come from?
The police was the number one throughout, but during the recent media report shows now the education sector has come to number one.
Yeah.
Now with that kind of thing, of course, there are a lot of problems, no doubt.
Yeah.
So we'll have to find some ways, because
any you can think of?
No, certainly that is the main thing, is that you must apply the law equally. Now if the event that there is discipline, proper discipline in the police department, because they are the people who are dealing with the ordinary people, especially when the corrupt people, that's the people who involved in crimes, that they deal with, police people are deal with that kind of people. Then always when they have the connection, sometimes that's maybe their patronage, that due to their bribes or various things.
Sure.
Then you can't establish the law and order. Therefore, the best thing you must establish the discipline and the rule of law in the law enforcement organs such as police.
Again, I mean, something that confused me when I was reading some of these public polls was the fact that many people thought that low salaries contributed to corruption. Do you agree with that?
No, that is one of the reasons, but I don't fully agree, for the reason that there were some researches, the surveys done. The difference is the people who are getting small salaries, they are getting small commissions and bribes.
Right.
And the people who are getting higher salaries, they are getting in a bigger way. That is the only difference.
Yeah. So it's not the case that low salaries contribute to greater corruption.
No, that's maybe that there must be some impact, because when people feel difficult to live with the salaries.
What is a low, I mean, in your perception, you will always have a lower salary than what you would desire.
Yeah, that is the thing. Now, in a country like that, in that event, that you'll have to give open license for those who are getting the lower salary. Therefore, that you can't think in that term. You must think in terms of a country and also the democratic norms and principles. Finally, if you have to boil down this, if you have to give the simple definition, what is this democracy? Democracy is the law and order.
Yeah.
Simply. Therefore, that whether he is getting lower salary or higher salary, that is immaterial. The law must be implemented.